Hey everyone, I thought I'd cover all my games from the ongoing top 50 tournament on BGA. And my second round opponent was ft029, a very strong player. But I mean, this is a stacked field, so they're pretty much all super strong players. But he was, as recently as last week, ranked as highly as number 3 on BGA with a rating of 745. My peak rating last week was 718, so not that far behind, but as you can see, I've plummeted quite a bit since then. And he has been more stable above 700, so objectively speaking, he's going to be clearly the stronger player here. He also won one of the recent top 50 tournaments, and I mean, as I said, these are extremely tough fields. So I'm in for a tough match against this opponent, and that's why I love this tournament. When I look at my starting hand, I see some good news and some bad news. So the good news is we have two good corporations in Creditcore and Ecoline, and we have some strong cards that can aid us in a more of a rush strategy. So these would be like Demos Down, one of the strongest cards in the game. I mean, Ecological Zone, also one of the strongest cards in the game. And our preludes, we have Heat Production, both Mohole and Mohole Excavation. So Heat Production is something Ecoline usually loves to have, because Ecoline can play a strong ground game, and then you only need to take care of Heat. But you can also go Creditcore here. I mean, you want to be playing Demos Down, maybe Protected Valley. These are cards that give Creditcore a rebate of 4MC, and also Creditcore has a better starting capital. But I think in a rush setup like this, Ecoline is usually going to be the stronger corporation, so that would be my initial gut reaction. But I would definitely keep these two like absolute premium cards. And I think Protected Valley makes a lot of sense if you're going for more of a ground game, a rush strategy. This would also possibly enable NRA for Ecoline, like we have Eco Zone and Protect Valley here. There are two playable plant tags early in the game, so if we find NRA, that would be amazing. Heather is also another card you'd like to keep with this setup, especially with Eco Zone. And looking at the rest of the cards on the top row, these really don't fit with a terraforming rush strategy. So the only remaining question then is, do you keep Giant Space Mirror? And ideally, I would like to keep that. But then we have to look at the preludes. I like to have some heat production with Ecoline. Mohole and Mohole Excavation are both pretty weak preludes. I'd say Mohole Excavation is the slightly stronger one because steel production is more valuable than heat. So my initial reaction would be to keep this one. We could also keep Mohole, just go all in on heat production. And if I was playing against a like weaker player, I'd probably just pick these cards. That would give me enough money. We go down to 21 MC. I can just play Giant Space Mirror, Gen 1, have a lot of heat, and do some terraforming, and expect to win the game. So this would sort of play into the standard recipe for how Ecoline wins games on Tharsis. You will get the Gardener milestone. Ideally, you get the Terraform milestone. Ideally, you fund Landlord for 8 MC before your opponent can fund anything else. And then you rush out the game in 9 or 10 generations. Either you score like 75 to 85 points in 9 generations, or maybe something like 90 plus points in 10 generations. And that will almost always be enough to win the game against a somewhat weaker opponent. Now, I said there was some bad news here, and the bad news is that I'm playing an elite opponent. So scoring like 90 points in 10 generations might not be enough to win the game. This is a setup that has a kind of high floor. There's a limit to how low your score can get, but it also has a relatively low ceiling. So it's probably not gonna pop off to have like an insane score, unless I find some key pieces like an early NRA or some other cards that would just like GIA or cards that would just boost my terraforming further. But against such a strong opponent, we are solely dependent on top decking those cards in the drafts because they're not going to pass us those cards, unlike maybe what some weaker players would do. And we don't have any card draw and so on. So I'm seeing this as a strong player. This is a risk that while this setup here is reasonably strong, it might not be strong enough to actually win against a very strong player. So because of that, I decide to I don't want to keep both these heat preludes. These are relatively weak, so I'd rather want to keep Business Empire for more MC production, which will give me more flexibility. Now the problem with that is now if we keep 5 cards, you go down to 21, and you have to pay 6 for Business Empire, you go down to 15, and that would not allow us to play Giant Space Mirror in Gen 1. I don't think just passing Gen 1 and then playing Giant Space Mirror in Gen 2 is a very good opening strategy. So this means that either we skip on the Giant Space Mirror or we need to skip on some other cards. And in this case, I think Heather is the logical choice. Heather is a good card, but it's not the be all and end all of cards. So it's okay to skip it, although I prefer not to. Alternatively, we could just skip on GSM and just keep Heather and then basically do nothing in Gen 1. Not sure I'm particularly fond of that strategy either. So I do end up keeping these 4 cards with the intention of playing Giant Space Mirror in Gen 1. Now, of course, if we get sabotaged or raided or something, that could sort of ruin our Gen 1 plan, and that would be pretty brutal since we're the second player here. Now let's see what FT had in store for us. Just going to turn down the volume here. He is playing Mining Guild with Orbital Construction Yard and Huge Asteroid. So immediately seeing Huge Asteroid, I think is good for me. It is a strong prelude, but it's also more of a rush prelude, which raises the temperature, which is something Ecoline likes to see. I play my preludes, and then he plays the Space Elevator and sells a steel. So pretty strong opening play. Mining Guild doesn't have a lot of money to start with, so just being able to get Space Elevator down in Gen 1, that's going to be great. He has some titanium mineral production, he has some TR, it's a pretty good start for him. I play my GSM. Fortunately, I didn't get sabotaged, and we go to the first draft here in Gen 2. Not the greatest cards, but I think Domed Crater is certainly the cards that, first of all, we don't want to give it to Mining Guild because they can use that to spend their steel and also place it on a mineral and increase their steel production further. And it's also a pretty good card for us because we could conceivably just play this immediately for conversion. And then these cards are just not very relevant. I'd say insulation is the most important to be aware of because this could either help us in a fight for Banker or prevent our opponent from funding Banker easily, since we've both seen this card. So now we're at a point where I could have this card, but he can't. And then I think Vesta Shipyard, he already has some titanium production to pay for that, and we also passed him IO Mining Industries, so rather not pass him to Joves there, but realistically this is the only card we're interested in. I play the Dome Crater on the usual city spot and convert my greenery here. So usually I prefer to convert here because if I greed that location, let's say I go down here, and then wait for oceans to come down the middle, I could always be blocked by something like industrial center or a restricted area or something like that. So I would usually prefer to convert next to my city here to be able to have access to these 4MC back conversion spots later when the oceans have come down. Okay, he plays business network and draws the cards and keeps the cards. So while he is at 23 TR, he's also at -1 MC production now, and he only has 15 MC. So he's still pretty poor. I mean, the space elevator helps, but he hasn't placed any tiles yet, so his steel production is not up yet. So I'm not like super concerned about this start of his. And he plays the industrial microbes, which is, it's fine, but I mean, he didn't have any steel to pay for this with. Usually Mining Guild has a problem of having too much steel that they more than they know what to do with, and then industrial microbes is a great card. But here it's just okay, I would say. I mean, getting energy is good for Mining Guild because that can help them play cities and stuff they want to be playing later. Okay, we get to this draft. 2 card draw cards here. Greenhouse is a good card, but I think here it is more important to deny card draw from him. Obviously, we can't cut both restricted area and Inventor's Guild. In my opinion, restricted area is the logical choice here. I think overall it's a slightly better card, and it's also a tile. And I'd rather not give early tiles to Mining Guild who can just plop them down on something like Tavanis Mons or some mineral where they can boost their steel production. So that's what I keep. I mean, I like to have greenhouses, but it's not like I need greenhouses to enable NRA or something. And again, we have Cupola City, which is another city that's good for Mining Guild. Can pay for it with steel, get more steel production. He already has the energy production for that. But Ice Asteroid is also a really strong card, and he has titanium to pay for that, and he could just plop down those oceans on titanium and steel and get up to 4 steel production. And I'd like to have Ice Asteroid as well. I mean, I'd like to have Cupola, but I think Ice Asteroid is the better card for me because I already have a city. And having Ice Asteroid means that unless he destroys my plants, I can just plop down 2 oceans here in the middle and convert next to them, which will be great. And then Inventor's Guild comes back. He took greenhouses, which I found pretty interesting. He's not interested in the card draw. Usually Mining Guild would be very interested in card draw because they can get their mineral production up, and then you just need to find cards to pay for with that mineral production. But he was more interested in greenhouses with just 1 city out. So the interest in plant tags is something to keep note of. Maybe like NRA or something. Okay, but I'm not going to give him the card draw in any case. And he gave Cupola City back. I believe he took... That must have been Mining Expedition. He took over that. That was kind of surprising to me. Again, this is a card that Mining Guild players usually love. So here, I think you definitely take the Ice Asteroid. I think Cupola is fine as well. We have the energy production to power Cupola. And then a question, do you keep restricted area? I mean, I'm not going to keep both restricted area and Inventor's Guild. That doesn't really fit with my game plan here because I'm pretty much trying to rush the game. So card draw is like not on the top of my mind, let's say. But I think this comes back to playing against a stronger player, because if I were playing against weaker opponent, I'd probably just take Cupola and Ice Asteroid and ignore the card draw, because I would expect them to pass me good cards in later drafts, such that I don't really need the card draw. But I decided to keep it, sort of as a hedge. It is a very, very strong card, but it's also an engine card. So I'm not sure whether that was the right choice. Okay, they draw a card, they didn't like the card, they sell a steel, and I play the Ice Asteroid. So here, I have 5 plants, and they didn't destroy any of my plants. So most likely they don't have any plant destruction here. So next gen, I'm gonna have 7 plants and be able to convert. So what I could do, I could place the oceans on titanium and steel just to prevent them from taking those spots later and boosting their mineral production. I could also take 2 cards, which would again, I mean, seeing 2 cards is also good for me, of course, but it's probably even better for them. So these 2 cards and these 2 titanium are generally speaking the best ocean spots on the map, and especially for mining guild. But from my perspective, placing the oceans here and then converting in the middle is just so juicy. I get 6 MC back and 2 plants and just can convert immediately. That has a lot of value. I asked my opponent about this after the game, and he thought this was the correct decision, and I think it probably is. And he placed the lava tube settlement, which might explain why he was not that interested in Cupola, because he already had a city he was going to play. I'm still a little surprised he took mining expedition, but we'll see later. I raised the temperature because he doesn't have a lot of heat coming in, so I'm not too worried that he's gonna take the minus 20 degree bonus temperature, and I'm more interested in getting that TR myself as production. Okay, we go to Gen 4 already, so this is a much faster game. This is going to be a much faster game than my previous game against Corvus Mortis, because we're kind of a rushing game here. Okay. Mining area card that Mining Guild absolutely loves. They can get double mineral production in an instant. But at the moment, he doesn't have any tiles next to a mineral, while I do. And if I were to just ignore his wants and needs, then Big Asteroid and Large Convoy are both really good cards. I'd say Big Asteroid might be my first pick here because, again, I want to advance the temperature track, which is often the lagging parameter in games like these. Large Convoy is also very strong as a card, but and especially for him with 7 titanium. So I'd rather not give Large Convoy to him, but if I give him Big Asteroid, he can also just blow up my plants immediately unless I convert. But I'm Ecoline. At some point he's going to be able to destroy my plants with that. So in the end, I decide on Big Asteroid. Here we don't have a lot of microbe tags, so worms, it really isn't that interesting. And I think Caretaker Contract is rarely a card you want to be keeping on the Tharsis map where you have the Thermalist Award. So I take Land Claim. That could be an annoying play for him. And Mining Area comes back. He took the Large Convoy, which I expected. And we can play Mining Area, so I think it's okay to keep it. And I keep Land Claim as well. Usually not a high value card, usually not worth it. But I think here, where we're both sort of playing a ground game, it could become quite relevant. It could deny him 1 or 2 points, maybe deny him some mineral production. And I think I have enough money here that, I can afford to keep that card, but I'm still not sure it's the correct move in either case. But I now play my Eco Zone and convert my plants down here. And there's always the question of whether should you greed this pocket here, because at some later point we could have 3 oceans here, and then my conversion would be worth 6 MC back instead of just 2. But what could also happen is my opponent could nerf that spot, like we saw in my last video, which I did against Corvus Mortis. But it's also fine. I could have converted here instead, because this is usually a place where you don't get as much MC back as you do here. So I could agree to this, especially considering I have protected value on hand, which I probably like to place here. So it probably isn't coming an ocean coming down here anyway. But I think it's fine what I did. He didn't like the card he drew, and he played the space station. So it's probably setting up the large convoy, I imagine. I play the mining area. It is an okay play. It's not, fantastic or anything. It's just okay. And then I play Cupola City down here, if I remember correctly. Yes. It's okay. This gives me more production. I'm up to 12 MC production now, which is a lot better than his 1. I also have more TR, so it's good in that sense. Excuse me. And it's a good spot on the map. Problem with converting, the problem with putting down a city without converting is that he could easily just nerf my city in some way, like play industrial center or nuke zone or something like that on these premium conversion spots. So usually you want to place a city here followed by an immediate plant conversion. But in this case, I think I had like nothing better to do, so I just decided to do that for the production, and I'm probably getting more greeneries that I can surround the city with later. He sells a steel and plays the optimal arrow braking. I pass, and there we get the large convoy. He puts that on titanium, which is very good for him because that increases his steel production. Gives him 5 plants, and then he plays the ported hydrogen as well, another excellent card, and he places that on steel, and he gets enough plants that he gets a conversion on a card. So very good sequence from him, and you can see that he's now in the lead by 1 point, despite my early rush here. So he's off to a fast start himself. Here's an interesting draft. My usual default reaction to playing against Mining Guild is you want to cut steel targets from them, such as mine and titanium mine. When he has so many minerals, he has 5 steel production and 9 steel. These aren't like premium steel targets because we're already in Gen 5. The game is moving quite quickly, and he has more than enough mineral production already. Like, he doesn't need mine. He doesn't need more steel production. So I think probably in this case, sabotage might be more important when we're rushing like this, and we're both kind of... He doesn't have that much money. But I decided to take the titanium mine. I think it's probably not the correct pick, to be honest. And here we have Convoy from Europa. Now, he just played optimal arrow braking. So in this case, I think we should cut Convoy from Europa. So this was pointed out to me after the game, because here I end up picking strip mine. And I think that's just just a bad play. I'm not sure what I was thinking there, because again, like I said, he has enough mineral production. He doesn't currently have the energy to power strip mine, and usually Mining Guild, struggles with finding enough energy. Whereas he has a bunch of titanium we can spend on Convoy from Europa, and he has optimal arrow braking. So yeah, that was a pretty bad mistake, I would say. Yeah, and none of these cards are all that interesting to me, so I just skip them. Yeah. And then to make matters worse, he plays the Arctic Algae into Convoy from Europa on the 2 cards. So he draws 3 cards, he gets 3 MC and 3 heat back and 3 cards. So very strong play from him and immediately punishing my my draft mistake there. But at least I have a response. I can play Big Asteroid and blow up his 4 plants. And increased temperature to -14. I know that Heather is out of the deck because we saw it in the opening hand, so that's okay. And he draws the cards and buys it, and then he sabotages me. I do have a decent amount of money now, so getting sabotaged is not that bad for me, but I think I should have sabotaged him. And here it's interesting because I could afford to play Protected Valley here next to my city for some further development and score some points. I mean, that is worth 3 points, 1 from the TR, 1 from the greenery, and 1 from being next to my city. But something to keep in mind here is I do have steel production coming in that I don't have any other steel targets besides Protected Valley. And I have Demos down, which I'm going to play at some point, and I will get 4 steel from Demos down, which I can also use to play Protected Valley. So I did end up playing Protected Valley here, and I think it's a mistake. Yes, I secured this spot next to my city, but even if I don't get this next to my city, even if it's only 1 point later, not the city point, it's still pretty good. And being able to pay for it in steel would have been much better. So again, a mistake, I think. Okay. And he plays in Mars University. Pretty good card. I pass. And Natural Preserve is dead, fortunately, because that would have been a great card for him with all the steel and Mars University and so on. Standard Tech is certainly a consideration. It's a card I would like to have. Usually Ecoline love this card because at some point you're probably standarding something. And also giving him another science tag when he has Mars U is bad. But we also have predators here, which could eat my ecological zone animals, and I'd rather not have that happen. So I think it's pretty close between these 2 cards, and I ultimately decide to cut the predators. Might have been the wrong decision, honestly. Maybe Standard Tech is better. And Mineral Deposits, again, is just accentuating my mistake of playing Protected Valley too early, because all this steel I have access to now, I could have easily paid for Protected Valley with steel only. So I decided to cut the science tag instead. Maybe he needs energy for some steel or some building card he wants to play with all that steel. And it's a Marcy cycle and so on. So yeah. Okay. And again, I decided to keep no cards. I don't really need predators. He doesn't have an animal yet, and maybe I should have kept it. Who knows? But I convert. At least we get to convert in this nice spot here. And claim Gardener. Here. Which is something I told my opponent after game. My sequencing here was a bit off. So now we need to look at the milestones and awards. So the problem here is he has 13 cards and he has card draw. So since he's first player next generation, he can easily get Planner. And he's only 2 tags off of Builder. So he's probably getting Builder as well. So if I don't get 2 milestones this generation, he's going to get 2 milestones. And I think with this setup, even though I'm currently in the lead, I need to get 2 milestones here. Like I said, the typical strategy for Ecoline in these cases is to get Gardener and Terraformer. I can get pretty close on Terraformer with Demos down, but I'm still only going to be at 34 TR, which is unfortunate because if I would just have one more TR, I could demos and then claim both Terraformer and Gardener. The other consideration here is that I'm 9-2 ahead on Landlord. So again, the textbook Ecoline play is to try to fund Landlord for 8MC. That's something I want to do here. Mining Guild can usually fund Miner at some point. He's got way more mineral production than me. So I think I shouldn't allow him to 8 fund here. The final milestone I didn't mention is Mayor. So we have an opportunity here. Since we can't get Terraformer, I can still afford to SP a city here, 25 MC, and then claim Mayor, and also claim Gardener. Actually, I had enough money here that I could claim Mayor and Gardener, SP City, and fund Landlord at 8. It's just that my sequencing here was wrong. So what I could do instead, if I fund Landlord at 8 MC, it leaves me down to 41 MC, then I can claim Gardener. I go down to 33 MC, then I can SP City, I go down to 8 MC, and I have just enough to claim Mayor as well. Then I get 2 milestones and 1 8 fund award. That's what I should have done. Now he draws a card, he skips, he didn't buy the card, but he funds Scientist. So not the award I was expecting. I was expecting him to fund Miner, but he has 1 science tag and he has Marsu. I think what he's looking at here is he has 15 cards, I have only 3, and while one of my cards is a science tag, he probably doesn't expect me to have any sort of science. I don't have any card draw. So even if his lead on Scientist is just small, very small, he's probably winning that. I think it's a fund not that many players would make. I mean, I think the gut reaction from Mining Guild players would be to fund Miner here. But you could potentially end up in a situation where I decide to fight him on Miner by converting greeneries on these steel spots or something, and then he leaves himself in a position where he can't spend all his minerals, and suddenly he has to calculate how many of them he can spend and so on. So I think this is a good play to fund Scientist instead. So I do my city play, I claim Mayor, and as you see I have 8 MC left, so I could have funded Landlord if I just done that first. So he plays another science tag, so he's probably safe on that anyway. And he commercial districts me here. A little bit annoying, but not really a huge deal. I have enough good spots where I can convert my plants, and I only have 2 plant production anyway. Kind of disappointing. He plays Plantation, and now we're suddenly up to 7% oxygen, and it's looking likely that he can snipe the bonus temperature bump. Sells a card, then he plays the Mining Expedition, which was the card that he kept back over Cupola City, which surprised me, but here it's really coming in handy for him. Usually not the strongest card, but if you can use it to get this bonus, it's pretty good. Okay, the game is progressing along, and we get to this draft. Pretty interesting draft. The card I definitely don't want to give him is Advanced Alloys. He has a ton of minerals, and he has Mars University, and this is one of the strongest cards in the game. Passing him these other cards is annoying too. I mentioned in my previous video how important GHG is one of the better heat production cards, and especially when you have optimal air braking, which he does. So I will give him another temperature bump, costing him very little since he has all this titanium. Knock the City, I've also discussed before, can be good if it's hidden to your opponent. So in this case, he doesn't know we top deck Knock the City here. So if I keep that, he has a city here, so I can hope that he will start converting next to Noctis, and I could score some good points with that. But and Immigrant City is also pretty good, especially for him with all that steel. But for me, it's a question between Noctis and Advanced Alloys, and I think Advanced Alloys is just kind of suicide to give him here. So I cut that, and here flooding. He has Arctic algae, so giving him flooding is also not ideal. Then there's Great Dam, which will not only score him a point very cheaply, but will also allow him to play stuff like Noctis City. So he told me after the game, he thought that I cut some cards in the draft that normally would be good to cut against Mining Guild when they're going more of an engine strategy, such as Great Dam here. But since we're both sort of rushing the game here, he told me he thought I should rather cut maybe cards like Flooding instead. So yeah, I do cut the Great Dam, and probably I should have taken Flooding when he has Arctic Algae there. And this one is also interesting because we gave him Noctis City, so it's not. I'm not sure that Immigrant City is all that important for him. And yeah, I take the Immigrant City there. I think for the same reasons I just stated. Passing Immigrant City is passing him imported GHG is not good. It's just I just draft on reflex here because these cards are usually so good for Mining Guild, but here I think imported GHG is probably just better. I mean, he has titanium production as well, and he has optimal air braking. So yeah, I made some dubious decisions in this draft probably. And I could keep Advanced Alloys here. He funded Scientist, but I mean, realistically speaking, even if I play Restricted Area and Advanced Alloys, I'm probably never winning Scientist since he funded that. He's probably got more science tags. He's pretty confident about that. And I'm seeing this game could end in 9 generations, at most 10. So by Gen 10, I will have, in addition to the minerals I have now, I will have 6 more steel. So for a total of 10 steel and 1 titanium. And Advanced Alloys costs me 12 MC. So with just the minerals I'm getting in, Advanced Alloys doesn't even pay off. So I decide to skip it. Again, since I don't think I can fight him on Scientist. He plays the Trop Resort. And he claims Builder. Don't think there was any sort of rush to do that because I'm 3 tags behind. And yeah, personally, I might have waited a little bit on the Trop Resort because the heat might come in handy. You can always play that later, but yeah, probably a fine play. And I decide to play the Restricted Area. Earlier, I said this probably doesn't really fit that well with my game plan. I decided to play it here because I see now that I'm sort of losing control over this game. I haven't found any synergies with my eco zone. I still only have 2 plant production, and he has boosted up his mineral production. He's already in the point lead, so I'm probably losing this game, honestly, with only these 3 cards on hand. So I'm gonna have to rely on maybe some card draw, hope to find some better cards. I placed a Restricted Area here because I know he has Noctis City, and this would be a 3-point greenery here if I allow him to convert, so I think that's okay. I pick up a plant myself. Energy tapping could be useful, but it's not. It's relatively late in the game, so it's probably not that important. He buys the card he draws, and he sells a steel, and then I fund Landlord. So yeah, it can be a bit scary to fund Landlord against Mining Guild sometimes because they can just put down cities with all their steel and tiles. But we already saw many of those cards, like we saw Cupola City and we have Immigrant City and so on, and we're 7 tiles ahead. So even if I don't have that much plant production, I feel pretty confident I'm going to win that. I'm just a little bummed out that I had to pay 14 MC for that instead of 8 MC last gen. And then I SP an asteroid. Yeah, so here I have demos down. Next gen I'll be starting. I'll have 10 heat, which means I can demos into heat bump and take the bonus ocean. I'm setting this play up with an asteroid because when I look at his setup here, it doesn't seem all that likely that he will necessarily increase the temperature. I mean, he just played Crop Resort, so it doesn't seem like he's that interested in increasing temperature. In hindsight, not a great play. I think it would have been better here to just wait until next gen and then see if we're still at minus 10 degrees. I can always SP an asteroid then and then do my play of demos into heat bump. So yeah, this was a bit impatient. And of course now he plays asteroids, blows up my plants, gets optimal air braking value from that, plays the imported GHG, which brings him up to 12 heat. And now I just get this sinking feeling that he has either a nuclear zone or lava flows, and I just basically screwed up because he's gonna get the bonus ocean instead. And I pass, and sure enough, he does have the lava flows. So just brutally punished my mistake of the SP asteroid there. And he gets an ocean, triggers the Arctic algae, and then he plays grass and he gets another conversion, and which means I won't get to demos all his plants. So just a terrible sequence of events for me, which started with my SP asteroid there. If I hadn't done that, I think he probably couldn't have gotten the bonus ocean. And if he doesn't get that, then at least next gen I can get the bonus ocean instead, which is a 2-point swing and also a swing of resources like plants and MC. And also I would have been able to just take out all the plants he got from that ocean, because according to the rules of the game, you can, when you play demos, you get the bonus ocean, you can first put down the ocean, give him the plants from Arctic algae, and then destroy them. So yeah, that was probably, I mean, I'd say that the game didn't look to be going in my direction even before that, but after my mistake of the SP asteroid there, it's really not looking very good. And now, of course, I get Nuke Zone, which could have been a good card before, but now I have basically all of the temperature taken care of with demos and my heat, so it's useless. So instead, I cut the Phobos Space Haven. I give him the wild tag, which I think is not that consequential. He already has 3 plant tags in case he has NRA. And science payoffs really probably aren't that relevant here. I mean, AI Central is too late for that and so on. So I'm cutting Phobos Space Haven, which he can pay for with his titanium. And here again, shuttles is more important than these other cards. Yes, maybe he gets like a quantum extractor into mag field generators, but that wouldn't be a very good play in my opinion. And we take the steel dump from him. Unfortunately, none of these cards are very good for me. Soil Factory maybe would be the only consideration, but I think I'd rather spend my steel on Immigrant City. So again, I don't buy any cards. That's a shame. Here I could demos into temperature bump, but he only has 2 plants at the moment, so I think I would rather set it up so we get an ocean come down, and then I can just blow up more plants. So I first draw into investment loan, then I increase temperature. I replace the artificial lake with his steel, so you hate to see that. But at least he gets more plants that I can blow up. And then he plays the ice cap melting, and he leaves himself with 8 plants. So maybe he could have sequenced that in a different way, because of course now I get to destroy 8 plants, which is always what you want to do with demos down. And I also take the remaining temperature steps, so pretty satisfying, but I'm still behind, and he has more cards and just more stuff. So it doesn't look very good at this moment, I have to admit. I play Immigrant City. I play it here because I know he has Noctis that he probably wants to play. And I also play Immigrant City here because I'm thinking maybe I'd like to fund Banker at some point. I mean, he's winning Miner. I might win Thermalist at the end, but that's too risky because he has optimal air braking. And Banker's also super risky, but at least with Banker, if I play Immigrant City, he can't fight me that easily on Banker by placing cities. But I don't have any cards to follow up a Banker Frontier, so I still think I can't really fund anything. That would really be too risky. Okay, plays Lagrange with Marsu, that's very good. So he did have some science tags. I was never going to be competitive on that award. Okay, plays the Invention Contest, very good for him. Gets to look at the cards. He plays Media Group, more bad news than he plays the NRA. So yeah, he's now up to 5 plant production, and then he plays the kelp farming, so he's up to 8 plant production, and it's just a pain. You're sitting here as Ecoline. I'm still at my initial 2 plant production for my corporation. He's at 8 plant production. Really not a good situation. Okay. Well, you certainly can't give him herbivores with all that plant production, so that's a clear pick here. And then of these cards, Open City is the only sort of relevant card. I mean, yes, nitrite reducing bacteria could be 1 or 2 points, but it's not very efficient. So it's Open City, and then Martian Survey is dead, and I keep herbivores in Open City, but herbivores could have been really good here. If I was in the usual Ecoline situation where I had his plant production and not the other way around, then herbivores would be amazing. But this is the problem of playing against a strong player, as I talked about in the beginning at the start of this video. I haven't really seen the cards that I'd like to have, which is because he's cutting those cards for me in the drafts. That's what strong players do. Or maybe those cards didn't come by, but like, look at my Ecozone here that I played relatively early. Still only 3 animals on that one. Not very good value. And then he finally funds Miner. That's looking very safe for him. I don't think it's realistic that I can ever fund that when he has 9 production. I have 2. So it's just like, yeah, you can try to fight it, but it's just hopeless. There's no point. Play herbivores. Add an animal there. And he plays the fish. So you look at just looking at his cards here. Pretty good cards. Kelp farming, archaeology, optimal fish. Like, whereas mine, yeah, some decent cards, but his card quality at this point is just clearly higher than mine. So I SP a greenery and convert, and at this point I pretty much know that I've lost the game. So just trying to maximize my points here. Maybe it would have been better to just wait on that and hope for some miracle, but because what I do now is that likely he might end the game now, and if he does, he just wins. But realistically speaking, I don't think there's any chance I'm coming back here. So yeah, he converts. I sell some cards. He plays Subterranean Reservoir for the final ocean, gets some more plants, and we already know he has Noctis City. So if he can find energy to use his steel to pay for Noctis City, that will get him up to 6 plants, and then he can convert. That gets us up to 13% oxygen. And if he can do that efficiently, he would still have enough money left to just SP a greenery and end the game into a win. So not much I can do. I just play the investment loan, place down land claim next to Noctis City because that's where he would want to convert. He converts temperature just to stall and sells a card. And I have nothing to do here. Like I can pass, but then he just basically ends the game and wins. So I just sort of have to maximize my points. But yeah, I play the open city, and he plays mangrove, and skips. I sell my card, and he standards for Noctis City, which gives him. We'll give him eventually 2 more conversions. Actually, yeah, he ended up with 6 plants at the end, but it really doesn't matter. It was a pretty decisive victory at the end. I got 80 points to his 87. Now, normally, as I mentioned, getting 80 points in 9 generations is fine against most players. It's not a particularly great score, but it's not a bad score either. It's okay. And against most players, this was just win most games. But 87 points in 9 generations is pretty strong score, a very strong score, I would say. So it just wasn't good enough. Now, Ecoline, of course, with this setup, could have scored 87 points. Like I mentioned, I did make some mistakes that might have improved my scores if I hadn't made them, or at least I think most of my mistakes just helped him get more points. It wouldn't really gotten me more points if I didn't make those mistakes, if that makes sense. But if I'd gotten better cards in the draft, then sure, yeah, I could end up with a better score. But at the end of the day, it's not too unexpected. It's not an unexpected score with this setup against a strong opponent, and today it just wasn't enough. So congrats to ft029, and yeah, I'll probably make reviews of my next games too. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you around.